Picture this: 500 lonely combines rolling north from Texas, racing the ripening wheat to the Canadian border, while airplanes scout the fields ahead. Picture a single machine doing the work of 30 men. Picture a silver giant with no paint, a German monster cutting 6 meters wide, and a red rotary that made every other combine look ancient overnight. These 10 vintage machines didn't just harvest wheat, they tore up the rulebook, fed the world, and changed farming forever. Number 10. Massey Harris Model 21A. We start with the machine that proved self-propelled combines were the future. Full stop. The Massey Harris Model 21 was launched in 1941 with a 12-foot header designed by Australian-born engineer Tom Carroll at Massey Harris in Canada. After the war ended, the upgraded 21A took over, swapping canvas drapers for an auger header that fed grain more reliably into the feeder house. By 1949, annual production peaked at over 10,000 units, an unheard-of number for a self-propelled combine at the time. But the 21A's real legend was already written. During World War II, Massey Harris convinced the U.S. War Production Board to authorize 500 extra combines under one condition. Each buyer had to sign a contract promising to harvest at least 2,000 acres of grain. They called it the Harvest Brigade. In 1944, those 500 machines fanned out from Texas, working north through Oklahoma, Kansas, the Dakotas, and into Canada, while company airplanes literally flew over fields to scout the ripening wheat. Trucks loaded with spare parts followed the brigade across the country. When the smoke cleared, the brigade had averaged 2,039 acres per combine in a single season. Bobby Smith of Arnold, Nebraska, just 21 years old, paid $4,700 for a new truck, a pickup, and a 21A combine, and went on to spend years following the harvest. Tom Carroll later won the American Society of Agricultural Engineers Gold Medal in 1958 for his work, and the Model 21 was honored on a Canadian postage stamp in Without the 21A, the entire idea of one farmer harvesting his own wheat with one machine wouldn't have caught on the way it did. Number 9. John Deere Model 55. If the Massey 21A opened the door, the John Deere Model 55 kicked it off the hinges. Introduced in 1947, the Model 55 was John Deere's first self-propelled combine, and it was a complete rethink of the layout. The operator's station sat at the top and center, with the grain tank and engine behind. That gave the machine better balance and a quieter cab, which sounds small until you spend 12 hours bouncing across a wheat field. Early 55s ran a 6-cylinder Hercules QXD3 engine producing 45 horsepower, with a 30-inch cylinder, a 45-bushel grain tank, and selective ground speed control that let operators travel up to 9.5 miles per hour. But the real story is what happened after launch. John Deere built more than 80,000 units over the next 2 decades. The Model 55 became the baseline for everything Deere would do next. It came in special versions too, including the 55R for rice fields with extra clearance and flotation, and the 55H hillside model introduced in 1954, which could keep the body level on slopes that would topple a regular combine. Farmers loved how simple it was to fix. They loved that one person could do what used to take a whole crew. And in 1958, John Deere finally added its own engines to the lineup, replacing the Hercules. By the time the Model 55 finished its run in 1969, it had defined what an American wheat combine should look like for an entire generation. There are still 55s working fields today, more than 70 years after the first one rolled off the line in East Moline, Illinois. That alone tells you everything. Number 8. Claas Hercules SF. Now, let's cross the Atlantic, because Europe had its own revolution, and it was wearing a German badge. On December 15, 1952, the birthday of company founder August Claas, the Claas Hercules was unveiled at the company's Harswinkel plant in Germany. It was the first self-propelled combine harvester developed in Europe. There was just one problem. The Hercules name was already a registered trademark, so Claas quickly renamed it the SF, short for Selbstfahrer, the German word for self-propeller. The SF could harvest up to 5 tons of wheat a day, which doesn't sound impressive now, but in post-war Europe, where most farms were still using binders and stationary threshers, it was a quantum leap. It had a working width of up to 4.2 meters, even in tough harvesting conditions, and Claas designed and built every major component in-house, including the hydraulics and a 4-cylinder air-cooled engine. Later versions offered a Perkins diesel option. The cab was mounted high, with the engine on the roof to keep dust away from the air intake, a clever solution to a problem that plagued combines for decades. Production ran from 1952 to 1963, and 19,465 SFs were built before the Matador took over. By 1965, Claas had hit a peak of more than 22,000 combine units rolling out of Harswinkel in a single year. The SF didn't just kick off Claas's combine empire. It convinced skeptical European farmers that the combined process of reaping, threshing, and cleaning in one pass actually worked. After the SF, there was no going back. Number 7. Gleaner Model A. Now for something completely different and completely silver. Gleaner combines started back in 1923, when the Baldwin brothers of Nickerson, Kansas, built the first self-propelled combine harvester in the world. They named it Gleaner after the famous 1857 painting, The Gleaners by French artist Jean-François Millet. But the model that really changed wheat farming for Gleaner came in That was the Gleaner Model A, the company's first true self-propelled combine in the modern post-war era. Here's the thing about Gleaners. They were silver. Not painted silver, actually silver. The Baldwins had figured out that paint was a waste of money because dust storms in Texas and Oklahoma would blast it right off. So instead they built the body out of galvanized zinc-plated sheet metal. Tough, weather-resistant, and instantly recognizable. While John Deere had its green, Allis-Chalmers had its Persian orange, and International had its red. Gleaner had bare zinc, and it stuck. Silver is still the brand color today. The Model A also pioneered some genuinely smart engineering. Gleaners used an auger to replace canvas drapers and a rasp-bar threshing cylinder instead of the older spike-tooth design. They also had a down-front cylinder that put the threshing closer to the crop, reducing grain loss. In 1955, Allis-Chalmers acquired Gleaner, and the brand exploded. For several years afterward, Gleaner profits actually made up nearly all of Allis-Chalmers' profit. The Model A proved that being different, both in color and in design, could absolutely dominate a market. Number 6. John Deere Model 95. By the late 1950s, American farms were getting bigger, yields were going up, farmers wanted more capacity, and Deere delivered. The John Deere Model 95 was introduced in 1957, and at the time of its launch, it was the largest self-propelled combine in the world. Bigger cylinder, wider header, more grain tank capacity, more horsepower. More than 39,000 of these machines were manufactured through 1969. And the 95 gave large acreage wheat farmers, especially in Kansas, the Dakotas, and the Pacific Northwest, a tool that could actually keep up with their fields. The 95 came in several variants. There was the standard 95, the 95H hillside model, and from 1964, a fully styled square back configuration. Diesel was offered in the square back versions, with a 6-cylinder engine derived from the John Deere 2010 tractor. Earlier 95s, like the earlier 55s, used Hercules engines before Deere switched to its own power plants. What made the 95 historically important wasn't just its size, though. It also became the test platform for Deere's first serious attempt at rotary threshing technology. Beginning in 1957, Deere engineers built the XCC-1 experimental on a pull-type Model 65, and a second experimental called the XCC-5 was built on a self-propelled Model 95 chassis. By 1962, the rotary prototype XCC-15 had 125 horsepower and performance reportedly comparable to the Model 105. Deere shelved the project, but the seeds were planted on a Model 95 frame decades before rotary combines went mainstream. Even today, 95s are still cutting wheat in places like Idaho's Palouse country and the Australian outback, more than 60 years after they were built. Number 5. International Harvester 151. While John Deere and Massey were stealing headlines, International Harvester quietly built one of the most respected combines of the late 1950s. The IH-151 was introduced in 1959, and it was the largest self-propelled combine IH had built up to that point. It ran a 75 horsepower engine and could be fitted with grain platforms of 12, 14, or 16 feet, plus 2-row or 4-row corn heads. A side hill leveling option was also available, together with its smaller sibling the 101 and its larger sibling the 181. The 151 carried the proud McCormick name on its red sheet metal, a callback to IH's heritage going all the way back to the 1902 merger that formed International Harvester. The 51 had what farmers in the Midwest called a sweet spot. It was big enough to handle serious wheat acreage, but mechanically simple and easy to service. Older operators still describe it as a one-man rig that finally made the grain binder and the threshing machine obsolete on small and mid-size farms. The 151 also marked the end of an era. It was one of the last open-station combines IH would build. When the Aero 3 series, the 303, 403, and 503 arrived in the early 1960s, those machines introduced cabs to the IH lineup for the first time. So if you ever see a 151 sitting in a windbreak or a fence line today, you're looking at the last generation of combine where the operator just sat out in the open, taking the dust, the wind, and the chaff straight to the face. Tough machine, tougher operators. Number 4. Massey Ferguson 5110. In 1964, Massey Ferguson opened a brand new state-of-the-art combine plant in Brantford, Ontario, and the machine they built there changed combine engineering forever. The Massey Ferguson 510 was introduced as part of the new 10 series lineup, alongside the smaller 410. And here's what made it revolutionary. The 510 was one of the first combines to use a unitized body design. Instead of building the combine on a heavy steel frame, with the body bolted on, the body components themselves were engineered to be strong enough to form a rigid assembly. No separate frame needed. This was something even the sports car industry hadn't fully embraced yet. A combine, of all things, was leading the way. The 510 had a 45-inch cylinder, a Perkins A64 354 6-cylinder diesel producing 104 horsepower, and the Brantford plant was capable of producing about 15,000 combines per year. By 1967, Massey Ferguson had captured 17% of the North American combine market. By 1971, that climbed to 18.6%. But it wasn't just numbers. The 5110 introduced features that became industry standards: saddle tanks for fuel, a hydraulic turret-style unloading auger, a 2-speed variable cylinder drive, a tailings rethresher, and a rotary screen for the engine air intake to stop chaff from clogging the radiator. Many of these came directly from Tom Carroll, the same engineer who designed the Massey Harris 20 and 21, finishing his career in Scotland, designing the 400 and 500 series before the Brantford plant scaled them up. The 5110 didn't just sell well, it rewrote what a combine was supposed to be. Number 3. CLAS Matador Gigant. Now back to Germany, because by the early 1960s, Claas wasn't messing around anymore. The Claas Matador was launched in 1961, and the bigger version, the Matador Gigant, set new standards for European combine harvesting. With a cutter bar width of up to 6 meters, this was, in the words of Claas itself, literally a giant for its time. Most European combines were still working with 3-meter or 4-meter headers. 6 meters was almost double. The Matador Gigant ran an 87-horsepower diesel engine in its initial version with a straw walker area of 4.5 square meters and a grain tank capacity of 2,690 liters with the attachment. Later versions used a 5.8-liter Perkins engine producing 89, 95, or 106 horsepower. The grain tank was integrated into the body and the engine sat right behind it, a layout that would become the template for European combines for decades. When farmers asked for something smaller, Claas responded with the Matador standard in same threshing mechanism, smaller running gear, more affordable for medium-sized farms. Over the production run from 1962 to 1970, more than 35,000 Matador combines were built. The Matador also represented the start of what Claas calls the era of the large-scale combine harvester. It wasn't just a machine, it was a statement that European agriculture was getting industrial, fast, and from 1960 to 1970, Claas was even the OEM behind the blue Ford 62 and 642 combines sold in North America. So that Ford-badged combine your neighbor's grandfather ran, it might have been a Matador in disguise. Number 2. John Deere 6600. Now we get to one of the most loved combines in American history. Ask any farmer over 50 about wheat harvest in the 1970s, and there's a good chance they'll mention this one. John Deere introduced its new generation of combines in 1969, including the 3300, 4400, 6600, and 7700. The 6600 quickly became Deere's best-selling combine of the entire new generation lineup. It was launched with a Dubuque-built 303 cubic-inch gasoline engine or a 329 diesel, both producing 104 horsepower. It had a 44-inch separator, 6,486 square inches of separating area, and 4,478 square inches of cleaning area. Deere knew the 6600 was going to be compared to its predecessor, the Monster Model 105. So they tested the 6600 against the 105 in a barley field in California, both with 16-foot platforms. The 6600 harvested 2.7% more crop. Why? Because Deere engineers had completely redesigned the threshing system. They moved parts around, created a shallower angle in the feeder house, eliminated the change in angle that crop material had to make before reaching the cylinder, and extended the concave to 13 bars with a 2-bar extension, smoother flow, less plugging, better separation. The new generation combines also introduced the QuickTach header mounting system as standard equipment, letting farmers swap a wheat header for a corn head in minutes instead of hours. The 7700, the 6600's bigger brother, was produced from 1970 to 1978 and offered a turbocharged 404 diesel from 1973 onward. By 1974, both the 6600 and 7700 added the self-cleaning rotary screen for the engine air intake. The 6600 spent nearly a decade as Deere's flagship. When production ended in 1978 and the Titan series took over, the 6600 had cemented Deere's reputation as the king of American wheat country. Number 1. International Harvester 1460, Axial Flow. And finally, the combine that made every other combine on this list look like a museum piece overnight. In 1977, International Harvester introduced the Model 1460 Axial Flow Combine, alongside its smaller sibling, the 1440. And it was a complete revolution. Every combine before this one used the same basic principle: a transverse threshing drum and concave, followed by straw walkers to separate the remaining grain from the straw. The 1460 threw all of that out. Instead, it used a single longitudinal rotor running the length of the machine, with a sectional concave system, doing both threshing and separation at once. The story actually began in the 1950s, when IH Laboratory research found that an open concave and cylinder were more efficient for separating grain than straw walkers. Engineers worked on the concept for over 20 years. International Harvester reportedly spent more than 1 million man-hours designing the machine and had 300 prototypes harvesting across the US and Canada in The 1460 ran a 436 cubic-inch IH-built diesel producing 170 horsepower, a 145-bushel grain tank, hydrostatic steering, hydrostatic transmission, and a 58-inch wide cab that was 18 inches wider than anything the competition was offering. Cab options included an 8-track player, radio, cigar lighter, and interior lighting. Farmers reported less grain damage and less field loss compared to conventional combines. Specialty crop growers loved it. One farmer summed it up perfectly. He said the same Axial Flow could harvest malt barley, pinto beans, sunflowers, wheat, corn, and millet, all without changing machines. The patent on the rotary design gave IH a major competitive advantage. John Deere actually bought one of the first 1460s sold in Minnesota, took it back to their experimental farm, tore it apart, and tried to figure out how to compete. By 1985, IH and Case had merged, and the Axial Flow concept lived on through the 1480, the 1660, the 2188, the 2388, and right up to today's 25T series. Every modern rotary combine, from John Deere's STS to New Holland's CR series, traces its DNA back to that one machine in The 1460 didn't just change wheat farming, it rebooted it. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.